everywhere. Welcome to the Dueling Disney podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Zomerman.
And I'm the other one of your hosts, Al Day.
And we have with us a special guest today. This is Melissa Meyer, who is the owner of Pace Pediatric Therapy and also a very good friend of mine. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Missy.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
I'm super excited too. You can see everybody now or no? Yes. Okay, good. We can all see each other. That's a good thing. And if you're listening, it doesn't matter. You don't care. But maybe they do care.
I mean, they just
they may care. I don't know.
And want us to
I talk to middle schoolers all day. They don't care. I literally hear that 800 times a day. I don't care. So there you go.
They care more deeply than the rest of us.
Doubt it. How was your Disney week?
Mine was good.
What did you do?
Mine. I'm really excited because this is going to be a visual. So anyone who listens to the podcast knows I'm a bit of a collector. And one of the things everybody these days collects is Funko. And I kind of got off the Funko train, not because they weren't cool, but just because I had so many of them and I just ran out of space to like display them correctly. And now they're all sitting in storage. But I got 2 more Funko this week.
To put them in storage with the rest?
No, they're right here on my desk, which ruined the visual surprise for those for the YouTube.
You already told us.
One is and I'm going to describe it for our audio, is the Oswald the Lucky Rabbit Disney 100 Funko Pop, which I'm
awesome.
Really happy.
That is awesome.
But I got this one just because it was free shipping when I got the other one, which I saw and wanted for like the last 3 months, which is the Walt with drawings. Which I kept looking for.
I can't believe you got it.
Find it, and I finally found it. And you know where I found it? On the actual Funko shop online.
I love that one. So I love that one. I don't even collect.
I was scared I wasn't going to find it because you know how Funkos, if you don't get it when it's available, you're just going to miss it. So I got to figure out what to do with those and where to display those. I think I'm going to put them in my office because my office is pretty Disneyed out. But I was really lucky to find it. I couldn't find it really anywhere.
I'm really jealous.
3 or 4 of my normal places and they were all sold out by the time I got there. So I'm stoked.
Well, thanks, Funko. I love it. I love that one so much. And I'm not even a Funko person. So, I mean, the rest of the family is, but I really like that.
Fun person or did
Yep. Yep. Just ask Ed. He'll tell you every day. Why can't you be fun?
Fellow.
Why can't you be fun? I'm like, it's not like you married me a fun, person, and all of a sudden I'm not fun. I've pretty much never been fun. It's not a surprise.
I mean, when we were in college, you were.
Was that? Yeah, exactly. Yep.
You were really mean to me a lot. I don't. Why are we? Let's not pull on that thread. What about your Disney week?
Okay, so we are going back to Walt Disney World, and that's happening in a couple of weeks. But Fernando, who some of you have met on the show before, is Emma, my daughter's boyfriend, also Disney nut. God. Anyway, are you quite finished?
Hold on. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, he told Ed a long time ago that he's always wanted to go fishing. He's never been fishing. And Ed said, okay, someday we'll go fishing. Well, it just so happens that Disney World can take care of you if you want to fish. They have a catch and release bass thing that you pay money for, and they take you out on their man-made lakes and you fish, and then you throw them away, or not throw them away. You put them back. I don't understand. I really don't understand.
You catch them and you release them. Having been fishing once or twice, Fernando may be overestimating the experience.
Whatever. It was his birthday.
He knows Sunday. They have like rides at Disney World, right? But
we've done them.
He's gonna go fishing.
Yeah, he's gonna go fishing. We're also gonna try to get on Tron, so that's also important. But yes, so they're going to go fishing. That was Fernando's birthday present. And they have to get up at some ungodly hour in the morning, which is great. You guys go for it. That's awesome.
That's when the fish are biting.
That's when they are. So you can release them. Again, not understanding why they're paying money. Okay.
I will say it's very exciting at the point in which you catch the fish. Everything else about it.
You can't eat your catch, though. I mean, isn't that the whole point of fishing?
Well, it's also going to
Food?
be sitting with your girlfriend's dad for hours on end. That's going to be
Yeah, that's
great
that.
fun.
That's
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Yeah, how about it? All right. Well, Missy's going to join us, and so since Missy is only here, well, it's her first time. We don't know. Maybe she'll be back. We are having Missy share her favorite Disney memory, and I happen to know that there are a lot of Disney memories that she had to choose from. A lot.
It's true. I definitely screened some of them with Andy before I decided on my final choice. But I think what I'm going to share with you guys is I am a physical therapist. I think Andy introduced me saying that. And when I was in undergrad, I was working at a clinic as an aide. So I got paid the big bucks to clean tables and put ice on people. And then I also, as a side gig, babysat for different families. One of them
Yes.
may or may not have been Andy's family. But at this particular memory, I was invited to stay at the Disneyland Hotel because the family that I babysat for was having a family reunion there at Disneyland. And so I took off of my normal job to babysit for a whole weekend, get paid, and go to Disneyland. It was a really, really, really rough weekend. And yeah, I would totally do it.
How many kids were there? How many kids did you have to watch? Because you had Christine with you too.
Yeah, there was one of my best friend. Her and I watched all the kids, and there were, I don't know, maybe 30 kids. But
Oh
There's a lot of kids.
man. Oh.
Wow. I thought you were going to be like 2 or 3 kids.
no,
Wow.
good. We got paid good money. We got our entrance fee to Disneyland paid for. We got room service at the Disneyland Hotel. They rented out the conference rooms, and there was a whole room that was just arts and crafts for the kids. And we just hung out
Wow.
there and just made sure they did arts and crafts. It was a good weekend. And I made
Those
way
were the
more
good.
than I would
Yeah.
have at my normal job.
I was going to say, those are the good families of Orange County. Those were the rich families. We were not the rich family. In fact, we used to pay Missy a very low amount to come watch our 2 children so we could go to Disneyland. That was fun.
I was going to ask how much you paid how much you paid your babysitter, but apparently you've already admitted it wasn't very much.
It wasn't.
I'm
so glad Missy's still our friend.
I remember I got to do my laundry there, and after the kids went to bed, I could watch TV, which is kind of a rarity when you're in college living on campus. So free laundry, free TV, and get paid, and I could do my homework after the kids went to bed. And the younger, the better, because
winning
earlier. So yeah,
they did. Yeah, they did.
Hashtag winning.
Hashtag winning. See, we were. I mean, we didn't take her to Disneyland to have her watch our kids. We can do that now, though, actually. She has been to Disney World a couple of times. We were just one?
Just one.
Because the second time you were going. No. The second time, actually, we were Al, she was supposed to go when you came with us.
Oh, really?
She was supposed to come that week. She was actually going to stay with us at the latter part of the week. And then with COVID resurgence and her working at the she has her own physical therapy clinic.
I forgot. COVID wasn't 100% kind of done when we went. I forgot about that.
No, we were having resurgences of some things, and so she couldn't chance it. So I thought it was 2. Okay, so we missed out on the 2. Okay, well, we'll take it. We can take you now that we don't have kids anymore that need babysitting, and we could take you whenever we want.
Yes, I'm in.
Anyway, so I invited Missy here today to talk to Al and I. And I will admit that it was Ed's idea to bring Missy on the show because not we, Al and Ed are old. And they have had lots of aches and pains. And
I remind you, we went to college together.
Al and Ed are old, and and Ed said, we were talking about this upcoming trip, and he's like, oh my gosh, invite Missy on the show and talk about these things. Like, when you're old, like Al and Ed, what can you do when you're in pain at the parks? What can you do to prep for going to the parks? But then I also have pediatric kid questions too. So should we start with the old people questions?
I'm
Al,
going to
should I
contact Dueling Disney's Human Resources Department for this age discrimination.
Apparently, I do it all. I have all the discriminations.
Well, but I think we should get specific because it might help Missy kind of, know a
Yeah.
direction. I recently, about a month and a half ago, coming up on 2 months ago, had a hip replacement surgery. And I have, in about 15 years ago, I had a torn meniscus, and I had that surgery. Ed's had knee problems for a while. So I think one of the things that I often think about is, before my hip surgery, the last few trips I did have to Disney parks were pretty painful by the end of the night. Like by my hip was in pretty severe deterioration. And so the adrenaline while I was in the park was always great, but then I'd say goodbye to everybody and go walk back to my hotel. And as soon as like that adrenaline dropped, I'd be like, oh God, help me, please kill me. Just, I hope I get hit by a bus because that's less pain.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can take that pain away, but I can give us some strategies about prepping, or maybe when to plan your trip even.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, do tell.
Okay, so I'm thinking like the best time to plan it, because if you're getting a hip replacement, there's a period of time where you're non-weight bearing, and then there's a period of time where you're like partial weight bearing, and then you can kind of get around, but you're hobbling. Plan it then, because then you can get a wheelchair and you get free front line area to every single line because you have a wheelchair, and you're good enough that you can get up and walk around here and there, but you're not good enough to have the endurance to go around the parks all day long. So
what about before you have the surgery though? Like, what if you're just walking? What if you're just old, like, yes, we are, and you just have hip pain? Like, what can you do if you don't want that scooter, but you
And
still want to
let me
enjoy
be
the
clear,
parks?
I'm okay with the scooter.
Ed's not. Ed has knee pain, and he does not want that scooter.
well, we gotta get a little bit more specific on what's going on with the
Okay.
knee, because if it's a strained muscle, easy peasy, we can rehab it and get better. But if you have a torn meniscus, there's no turning around from that guy, and he's just gonna get more and more angry at you as you're going around the park. So
Oh.
more
And what would you say to, let's say, a third party who is going to the parks with somebody with a bad hip and another person with a bad knee, who just walks 100 miles an hour, and whenever the people with the injuries say, hey, can we slow down because I'm amid a bit of pain there, just yells at them more? Is there something we can say to that person? Or
I think maybe instead of slow down, you just say, hey, we're going to sit this one out. You go on and do what you need to do. Because most likely they're very motivated. It sounds like that person really has a drive to get to whatever they're doing. And you just.
And I'm not saying who that person is.
Me either. Me.
It could be a famous podcast co-host. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, or it could be my sister. Like, we just don't know.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
There you go.
And something you said, Missy, I want to go back to, which is, and I'm curious your take on this, which is when, sort of in that post-surgery piece, right, which I've just recently come out of, I only stopped using the cane about 2-3 weeks ago, is the ability to access sort of disabled services. And one of the things that I know for me was really difficult was, particularly in that immediate post-surgery era, is there was some kind of like, and this might be a stupid toxic masculinity thing, I'm full of that, some kind of like pride around, oh, I don't need that help. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between recovery for somebody who takes that help and somebody who knucklehead powers through.
Yeah, this is exactly why I don't treat an adult outpatient ortho, because there are so many knuckleheads that want to power through and hinder their recovery because they think that they're good enough to do it, when in reality the tissues, the everything that got cut through to access the part that needed to be replaced is broken. It's split apart. You went through literally some of your glute muscles. Like, those all need time to heal. And by you getting up, walking around on them, it's not allowing them time to heal. Even though you think you can power through, it's really hindering your actual healing time. So, um, my recommendation for the post-op is, I'm sorry, you gotta follow the protocol. You gotta follow it. Otherwise, you're really just hindering damage. And then when you're at where you're supposed to be, getting rid of the cane and moving up forward, and you're still limping around everywhere because you didn't let it heal, then you get mad at your physical therapist saying, I should be better by now. I should be on the basketball court doing full court press. But in reality, I'm like, yeah, but you decided you should walk at day 2 when you had no glute muscle. So I'm sorry. You're
Yeah, and I will share my physical therapist scared me by saying, she was coming to the house, and it was about a month later. Right up, she was like, "I want you to use the cane for another week, but you're looking pretty good." But the thing she scared me with, she goes, "You're about to enter the most dangerous time of your recovery because you think you can do anything, and you can't." Because I was like, "Okay, so when can I get back to this exercise, and when can I do this, and when can I do that?" And she's like, "I want you to wait 3 months." You count it from the last day of your surgery, from the day you had the surgery, 3 months before you back to like physical, like the level of physical activity you had before the surgery. Because she says the most dangerous time is not right after the surgery because you're still in pain and you know not to do it. It's when you're not in pain, but you're still not 100% healed. So the example I use is my actual hip where I had the surgery feels just fine, but there's a big chunk of my thigh that's sort of still, it's not painful, but it's still kind of sensitive, and I don't have, it's tingly, and I don't have a ton of feeling there. So I can tell it's getting smaller and smaller over time, but I can walk just fine. And I could see myself going to Disneyland and just being like, great, I'm going to do it like I used to do, rope drop to midnight and then da 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 da. And I think that would probably be a really bad idea.
really bad idea. Confirmed.
So if you were going with us, say you were going with us on our next Disney trip, are you saying that you would get a scooter?
Are you asking?
I'm sorry, Al. Al, would you get a scooter?
Oh man, that's a really tough question. I would be okay with getting a scooter.
Missy's like, yep, that's what you'd be
And
doing, all right.
I mean, here's the thing about the scooter, and here's, I think this is important to talk about. When we've gone to we went to a trip after you had some real tough medical issues, Andy. And the thing about getting a scooter that you have to get your mind around is, I could get out of the scooter and people walk around, and people wouldn't think anything was wrong. And it's a psychological thing of, I don't want people to think I'm faking,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have to understand. So the answer to your question is yes, I would. And that's a barrier to me as well, is
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people to think I'm faking or gaming the system. And you really can't control that, but that is a factor for me in answering your question. Yeah, I would. And the whole day I'd be like, does that person think I'm faking? Does that person think I would have anxiety about that?
So that's what happens after the surgery. What about when you are, and I think this is not just my husband, but a lot of people, you know that you need work done. Like Ed will need a knee replacement, right? Okay, so that's going to happen Sunday. So we still go to Disney. What can he do? We were even thinking, like, should he get even a cane? Would that like alleviate some of the pressure maybe that's going to be on his knee? Or what's your suggestion for that? Knowing that you need this surgery, you're in pain, you're still walking. Like, what would you say to Ed right now about going? Would you say walk with a cane, walk slow, get a scooter? What would you tell him?
would tell him that day one, well, how many days are we going to the park?
Okay, let's talk 5 days. Maybe 5 days.
Perfect. Okay, so this is a whole new ball game, because 5 days we got to do like an endurance plan, because you can't go all out on day one and think that you can do all this. So if we're doing 5 days at Disney, I vote get a scooter from the get-go. If we're doing 2 days at Disney, then maybe we could do a cane on the first day, see how we're feeling that night. Like Al said, he got home and he's like, I wish the bus would hit me so I don't have to do this again. If that's the case, then it's scooter day 2. But if we're feeling like, okay, this is okay, canes totally help. You want to carry it in the opposite hand of the knee that is affected, because you're
Okay.
going to transfer the weight to the other side. That's the reason you carry it in the opposite hand, is so you can use it to put weight through instead of having that go through the side that's hurt. So it's kind of, everything is kind of touch and go, and there's no great answer in terms of cut and dry. Your knee's bad, use a cane. Nope, sorry, didn't work out. Maybe we need to switch to the scooter. You can reevaluate throughout your day. I do think that there's a lot of great things in icing after you get home. That definitely
He does that for sure.
decrease the swelling, and a lot of times it's the swelling that causes pain because everything's so tight and can't move anywhere. So not only a cane, but some sort of wrap, a compression wrap might be good. Or and when you do those, you want to start at the lower part of the body and wrap up, because you want to be bringing the blood back up toward the heart and not wrap from, if it's a knee, from the thigh down to the calf, because then you're just going to trap all your blood down at your foot and you're going to have that much more pain, possibly numbness in your foot, and you'll wish you didn't do that at all. So that's a tough question to give you a straight answer. I think you got to reevaluate every night how you're doing and what's going to be the best thing. But come prepared. Come prepared that you might use a cane, you might use a scooter, I would for sure wrap it every single day, so that way it's at least compressed, helping with the swelling. Anytime that you can take a food or drink break, get it elevated. I mean, even ask for another cup of ice, and just maybe carry some dog bags around with you, so that way throw that cup of ice.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
And just ice it in between when you're having a time to rest.
You know, that's I think that's a great idea, and it's something had never occurred to me, is to sort of, you can get ice at the parks. All you really need is the bag, right?
Yeah.
The I have trying to figure out how to phrase this. So you just gave some great advice, I think, for how to sort of manage a long day of being on your feet. I guess what I'm curious about is, what does taking it easy look like? And again, I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but let's say you're a person who needs to take things a little bit easier. And let's say your partner, I'm not talking about anybody in particular. Let's just pull a name out of that hat. Let's say you've got a partner named Mandy, who is just really like drive. How can that partner adjust expectations for what someone might realistically be able to do? This was not a paid question from Ed.
Just before you answer, just know that sometimes people who go to Disney often have what they call the Disney walk. And it's not something you consciously do. It's just you're trained to go from ride to ride to ride. And you want to get there before everybody else does. So sometimes just nature kicks in, right? Anyway.
How can one be supportive of someone who may need a little more
Okay.
time.
Answer the question.
Well, I kind of
It's fine.
want to go on a tangent from this because this made me think of, let's say we're all healthy. We really do need to do a little bit of training before you go to Disney, because you have different modes of transportation within Disney. If you're in stroller land, you need that agility. If you're trying to get your fast pass tickets, you need to get some sprints in. And then you need your long endurance throughout the whole day of just slow and steady, slow and steady. So I think that those injured people they don't have the ability to change modes as the other people who are used to being like, boom, we're in stroller land. We got to dodge all these strollers and get over here to Peter Pan. Nope. They're still stuck on slow and steady. I'm on endurance pace. This is who I am. So if you can kind of think about, and as a team, think about, hey, I'm at tip top shape for Disney. I did all my hill workouts, I did my sprint training, I did my long runs. I'm good to go. And your partner's like, "Well, I wasn't able to do those. All I could do was make sure that I could accomplish the day." Then that kind of gives you a better frame of mind to know stroller land's going to look a little slow and we're going to be stuck behind more strollers than we really anticipated. Um, or we might not make it to that fast pass.
So what I'm hearing is that you're saying you snooze, you lose.
I didn't hear that at all.
I think that's what I heard her say.
I almost heard the opposite of that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Huh.
But
that's why she owns her own pediatric therapy. I'm sorry, Missy. What did you say?
Oh, I was just gonna say divide and conquer too. Like, get the person who can do those sprints to go get those tickets or get in line, and then when you get there, boom, you just hop in with them. Like, but you need to discuss that before you're there, so you're not feeling left behind, or you're not feeling like, why aren't they keeping up, and frustrated with the other part of the party that's not keeping up. But that's on purpose. Your job is to go get in line, hold our place, because there'll still be a line by the time we get there, and just really communicate what our different roles will be while you're at the park.
Yeah, communicate. So if you perhaps do feel like going home because you want a bus to hit you, maybe say, hey, I'm going to go home.
Yeah, that's so communicate like saying, hey, slow down. I'm in pain right now. Or are you talking about
no, that can't be, because everyone needs to experience their Disney experience, what they're planning to do. So slow down might not be the answer for the person who did all the agility and sprint training. Sorry, I didn't do it. I'll catch up with you later.
I get what you're saying. You're saying everyone at their own pace, and as long as we understand where each other is, we can work together to have the best day at the Disney park. Now here's in all seriousness, part of I think the challenge that I find, this is hip surgery or not, this has been my challenge at Disney parks since I was in my teens, is the hurry up and wait piece of you really at high energy, and then you get in line and you stand for an hour and a half with maybe every 2 minutes you move up 3 inches. And for me, the standing is the harder part. When I'm in motion, it's great, but it's that standing, and I find myself leaning and stretching my back in the line, and my feet hurt. Are there things we can do to kind of manage those sorts of things? I just know that the worst part of the park for me is the weight, and my feet hurt, and I'm just I can't get my body comfortable.
Yeah, I was thinking about that question actually, Al, because that's the hardest part for me too. Like at the end of the day, my feet are so tired. So I was really thinking about our shoes. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a triathlete, so I like to run. Running is like part of me, and shoes, both as a runner and as a physical therapist, play a huge role in our comfort. Um, and so, if you are going to the park, I would totally go to a run store and have them do, whether you're planning on running or walking, I would have them do that specific thing. I would have them watch you walk because they will do that and they'll put it in slow motion and they will tell you, hey, you need a neutral shoe, you need a super supportive shoe. They'll tell you what you need. They'll also tell you if you need different orthotics. And then what I would do from that point, which I tend to do and I kind of love because sometimes I'm like, ooh, really sold on one type of shoe. Maybe it's Brooks, maybe it's Adidas, maybe it's Saucony. Like maybe it's the Newtons. There's so many different shoes out there that I end up doing what I call speed dating with shoes. And I'll throw on one pair of Brooks on my left and one Newton on my left.
Oh,
And
that's
I'll walk around the store for a while like that. And I'll be like, okay, this feels heavy, but this feels cushiony. This feels supportive, but really rigid, or whatever. I'll do that until I find two or three different brands that I like. Because I think if you're doing a 5 day trip, if you wear the same exact brand every single day, it doesn't matter how great of a shoe it is, your feet are going to be tired of that. So find your top two or three and switch them out from day to day because they're going to
that's a
provide
really
Interesting.
good idea.
different.
That's a fantastic idea.
What about, I'm going to go off of a running shoe for a second. And this is not me because I really don't like these shoes, not just the look, but comfort. But a lot of people are really into wearing Crocs when they go to Disney. Yeah. So I mean, Crocs have no support, right?
I mean, not really.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people find them comfortable for a whole day at the park. I mean, is it more of like, well, if they're comfortable, wear them?
This is where I would turn back to the running store because Crocs are very
Okay.
flexible.
Uh
So
huh.
they're not providing support. There's literally zero ankle support in them because they don't come up over the ankle at all. They're low rise. So
Hmm.
I'm curious to hear like what demographic are you finding likes to wear Crocs?
Actually, I'm on a lot of Disney chat boards, right? And there's a lot of people that are like, "Hey, what shoes should I get?" And so it's nobody. I don't know who these people are. Or I assume they're like me, and they go on Disney chat.
I mean, I've seen tons of people in Crocs at the parks.
And yeah, and seeing them for sure.
Yeah, totally.
But
I mean,
yeah,
I have never worn a pair of Crocs, mostly because I would like women to be attracted to me. But
that's it. It's because of the Crocs.
I mean, I've had shoes that I've like are comfortable but aren't good for your feet, if that makes sense, right? So
Hmm.
like as much as I love Disneyland, Disneyland's got nothing on standing on your feet all day at Comic Con. And
Mm.
one year I just went and got like the shoes that had the biggest pads, like Skechers used to have those shoes with like the rolling
Oh
thing.
yeah.
And they were super comfortable and my feet were killing me at the end of the night. So I really
Hmm.
like this idea of it's more about having a shoe that fits right and maybe switching it out. It makes a lot of sense to me. Crocs, I mean, your feet are in like hard plastic. If you're in Anaheim, it's 95 degrees. If you're in Orlando, it's 95% humidity. Neither one seems to be like the crop type of weather.
I don't know.
I see
I don't know.
people in Birkenstocks. People say Birkenstocks are super comfortable.
Yeah. So what do you think about
Comfort
those?
seems less important. Go ahead.
What? No, I am curious about the Birkenstocks actually, because I love Birkenstocks. Are those good walking in Disneyland
So
shoes?
Birkenstocks have a really great support. They are definitely, they have great or arch support, and the sole is pretty sturdy. The thing that's tricky about them is your foot has to do the work to carry them. If your
Oh,
toes don't grasp on, they will fall off.
yeah.
So, a pair of shoes, your foot gets to go for a ride every single time you take a step. Birkenstocks, your foot has to work. But they're a great shoe in terms of support, and they're wide, so you're not cramming your toes into a small toe box, which can be some problems for some of the different tennis shoes out there. So kind of kind of what your feet, I do go back and forth of what kind of endurance do you have with them, and if you've spent your whole summer walking around in Birkenstocks, then maybe that is a great choice for you.
I mean,
I like.
I was just gonna say, Andy and I did the Disneyland 10K a few years back, and that was the most money I've ever spent on a pair of shoes. Was getting, like you mentioned, getting a set of running shoes fit to my feet. And after running 6.2 miles, my feet felt fine.
Mhm.
I mean, the rest of me was
Yeah,
done,
that's
but
true.
my
That's
feet
true.
were great. And
Yeah.
so I just really think that anybody who listens to this knows how cheap I am, but this is one of those things where, like, I think the investment really in getting a good fitted pair of shoes, I think it really pays off in this area.
Totally. And maybe not just one. Like if you really got sold on the Brooks, pick your second top runner up and pick it for a different reason. Like maybe the Brooks felt super light and a little bit cushiony, but not very supportive. Pick your next runner up that's going to feel more supportive. Uh, and
Hmm.
then trade those off because your feet are going to want that change.
That's so interesting. I'm so glad you shared that. What about kids? I'm going to go down to kids for a second because we all know, I mean, yeah, we have tired feet, right? And we complain a lot, but kids melt, right? I mean, kids like tantrumy melt done, especially when walking. And I know that I've seen it in the last maybe decade or two where like kids up to 10 years old are riding in the strollers, right? So is that wise, or should they be like, is it, no, you're 10 years old, you can handle this like the adults? What's your opinion on that?
My opinion is if they can fit in a stroller, put them in a stroller because our mission is to go all day long from ropes drop to fireworks.
Yeah.
Reality is they're not going to make it. I don't care who they are. They're not built to have that kind of endurance. There's a reason why they're not
Mm,
allowed to do big races and things like that. Their bodies aren't ready for that type of endurance. So if they need to be in the stroller, then go for it if they can fit in the stroller. Or you're going to have to plan more breaks in your day. You're going to have to go back to the hotel. You're going to have to take a longer lunch that's actually sitting and not eating a corn dog as you get into the next line. Like you have to sit. The
mm,
kiddos, they just can't make it.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and
And a
I
good
think if you're old
point.
enough to shave, you shouldn't be in a stroller.
10-year-olds don't shave.
I don't know.
They don't.
I don't know.
Well, okay, maybe one or two, I don't know. But I like that idea, especially because, and this isn't new information to anybody. People have that once in a lifetime vacation and they just want to push it. They want to eat that corn dog on the way to the next ride.
It costs a
And
lot of money, and people are trying to, like,
yeah,
right? Like, it's so much. I get it, and I agree with you, Missy. Like, I nothing frustrates me more than a kid who's clearly done, and the parents are just like dragging them to the next thing, and I'm like, your kid's done. Like, you're not like this isn't good parenting right now, and I don't want to be judgy, but maybe 11 o'clock on a Thursday night, your kid should be in bed. Maybe.
it's interesting. Like Gotham's telling you right now in the background, yeah, dad. practice what you preach.
He lost his little chicken thing.
Go get his chicken thing.
I'm gonna go get his chicken.
You do that. So what, as just healthy families, what are some things that you can do before a Disney trip to prep for all the walking and the standing?
That's a tricky question. I mean,
Okay.
go for more walks.
I mean, can you prep? Is it something you can prep for?
Sure. I mean, I think of like little kids. If we're talking kids 10 and under, that's really hard to train, make them go train for
Okay.
that. But they're active. They're always wanting to move. So those little guys, they're gonna go as long as they can. And when they drop, and that's just, they're done. For the older kids, the teens, sure, get them walking, get them doing more things that require standing on their feet. It's tricky because they're in school and they spend most of their day sitting. So how do you go from sitting all day at school to learning that you have to be moving all day? And you get a weekend, or you get after school hours, but after school hours you're doing homework, you're having dinner.
Mm-hmm.
You only get a couple hours of time that you could
That's
actually
true.
be on your feet. So it's really hard for anyone that's not able to move around consistently to get really prepared. But as adults, like, go for more walks. Every night, go for walks. Every morning, go for a walk. At lunch, go for a walk. The more you can get time on your feet, the more your body's going to feel ready for it.
I love that. Did I miss anything? Is there anything I missed asking you that you think we need to know?
I would also like to say that, like, if you're at Disney World, some of the things that can help decrease the pain is if you just head over to Epcot real quick and take a tour around the world, maybe try a drink from every country. Right there, that
Muscle
really
relaxing.
decreases the pain.
Yeah, you didn't really do that last time, Al. You weren't really drinking around the world.
I don't drink around the house. I'm gonna drink around the world.
Well, it's something that I think that Al and I are already known for, but really to implore families, especially with those who have little kids or those who are traveling with people who don't have good hips or knees anymore, is just to include those breaks. I think it's when you don't include those breaks that, and the older we get, and I would say the three of us kind of are privileged in that we can really go to Disney whenever we want to,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like, this isn't the trip that we've saved up our whole life to go on, and it will only be the one time. So there's a bit of privilege. I get that.
Yeah, if this is the one time you're there and this you've saved for the last 10 years, I get it. Like, you're gonna push.
I would still advocate for breaks, and I would advocate to say pick your favorite things to do, because you're not going to be able to do everything. And accept that, and just accept it.
And some stuff is fine. It's fine. It's fine if you missed Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin. It's fine.
It really is. It really is. It's totally okay. You'll be good.
If you've done Buzz Lightyear, you've done Roger Rabbit. It's the same right.
There's so many like that.
And they listen in again to hear which places should be a priority.
Oh. Which places should be a priority?
Yeah.
That's what are you asking that, or are you saying that we should do another episode on which places should be the priority?
Yeah, I'm suggesting that you do that, because it sounds like these families that have saved up, they really do need to know breaks are okay. It's not okay to see everything, but really, what should I see?
Right.
Because
what if
first time going to Disney World, I was like, Disney World?
Yeah.
Like, why are we going back to the hotel? I don't need a nap. The kids need a nap. I don't need a nap. So I'm staying here. And it caused a few problems. So I do think that hearing what priorities should be or could be would be helpful for other families too.
Well, and then didn't you say on the trip you went on, once you got back to the hotel, then the walk to your room was like, and Al had that problem too
A half a
when he
mile.
stayed at Art of
A
Animation.
half
Yeah.
a mile. I
Oh my God.
watched and
Listen, I did the exact same thing, 0.72 miles from where the bus dropped me off to where my hotel room was. 0.7. And then I needed to go back and get cash to give the baggage person tips. And that almost killed me. Because I was like, I got to go a mile and a half just to get like a 20 to get some change to give this baggage guy a tip in the morning. And he might not get a tip because this is
you
ridiculous.
just like show him your little Disney band and say it's on there. I'll add it later.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. The walk to the hotel room is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, you need training for that. You need to plan your hotel room based on how far it is from the bus pickup.
Well, because
I
what
agree.
happens for me is, again, the adrenaline's running and my muscles are loose when I leave the park. And then I sit on the tram for half hour and then I get off the train and my muscles are super stiff now. And now I'm walking to the hotel like Frankenstein because like all of a sudden my muscles have just went.
Yeah.
That's
a great
We
sound effect there.
didn't even talk about
Thank
some
you.
stretches too. Stretches could be good before
Talk.
and after. Yeah.
What kinds?
Uh,
What kind of stretches?
First stretch your wallet.
yep, that too. Calf stretches, quad stretches, and hamstring stretches. Those are going to be your big ones.
Yeah.
Yep. Calf.
And do those before you do those in the morning when you wake up?
Yeah, like while you're waiting for the bus,
Okay.
get some good stretches in, do a few at
Okay.
lunch, and then when you get home, ice and stretch again.
Okay.
And water during the day.
Ooh, all the time.
Okay.
Which is
All right.
and I'm big on water, and it's something I always forget because I'm busy doing stuff. And like I'm not big on soda, but like you're at the parks, you know, and so I'm like my normal day I'm always drinking water, and when I'm at the park I don't, and my muscles just.
That is a very good point. Yes. When we train in triathlons, we literally calculate how many water bottles you need to drink every hour, and you need to be drinking at least one water bottle every hour. So why would it be any different? Especially if you're not used to the climate of Disneyland or Disney World. They both are warmer than other places in the country.
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, water. Al, I'm glad you brought that up.
I just think that's a really good rule of thumb. Like a bottle of water an hour is probably a good rule of thumb at the parks because, like you say, it's different environment, but you're sweating in both, right? Like in Anaheim, you're sweating and you're cooling, and in Orlando, you're sweating and you're not cooling.
Sweating.
It's just you're sweating, but either way, you're getting rid of moisture, and you need to like replace it.
Good points. Good points. All right. Well, I hope we help some people here. And I do want to tell you listeners, just to protect all three of us here on the show, that if you are listening to the fantastic tips that Missy has given you, please see your own doctor before you do anything. Anything. I mean, she's great, and
Please
I will take her word for everything.
This is not medical advice. This is an entertainment podcast.
But we just want to make extra special care that you go see your own doctor before you do these things. Even though I trust her with my life and my children, but you know, that's me. All right. So here's the point where we ask all of our friends, our community duelists, and anybody who's not a community duelist yet, what would you do? What did we miss? What are some special things that you do when you are getting ready for a Disney trip? Do you do anything special, or do you wait until you get there and complain like the rest of us? So that's what I want to know from you. I'll put that note in on our Facebook page under Community Duelist. If you are not a duelist yet, go to Facebook under Dueling Disney Community Duelist. Hit join, and you can join our community group right there where we share tips and info and complain about things. So that's my tip there. Go join.
Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened. Wait for the podcast to come to a complete stop before disembarking. Permanece sentados, por favor.